Hello everyone, it's George from Ireland. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm commenting on the election of a new president in the Republic of Georgia, because it was just 2 days ago that the Georgian Parliament they elected a former footballer from Manchester City as their president. It's Mikhail Kavalashvili. Vili is a very common suffix to Georgian surnames, as in meaning child. So he was a deputy in their parliament, and he's a member of the Georgian Dream Party, which is the political hegemon at the moment. Now, he was elected unopposed because he was the only candidate who was nominated. So, of the 225 candidates, members of parliament who voted, 224 voted for him. So he's not elected by popular vote. There's an electoral college made up of politicians. So there are four opposition parties who said that he's illegitimate. Now, how did he get over 99% of the vote? Well, that's because, as I say, he was the only candidate. I don't know why they even bothered holding a vote. Where I come from, in Ireland, if there was only one candidate, he or she is elected unopposed. There's no casting of ballots. But because the opposition didn't manage to nominate a candidate, they just refused to show up. But nevertheless, it was still quorate. Parliamentary elections were held in October this year, and the opposition parties claimed that they were rigged. They obviously did win some representation, and so they say there was Russian interference, hacking, and an influence operation. And there's probably some truth in that. Was it enough to sway the result? Indubitably, it would have changed it a little bit. Georgia is a country of almost 5 million people, of over 3 million registered voters. So of 3 million voters, not everybody votes. Let's say it's 2 million. If you get one false vote, that's obviously not enough to invalidate the whole thing. What if it's 10,000? Probably not. What's 100,000? Well, I think that definitely is enough to say that. Remember, in Romania, because of a Russian hacking operation, that's the Supreme Court has annulled the election and calls for it to be rerun, Romania's presidential election. So there were large crowds demonstrating in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, and other cities over this weekend, despite the very chilling temperatures. Now, the current president is Salome Zurabashvili. She's born in Paris to Georgian parents. So originally a French citizen, indeed a diplomat for France. Of course, when she was born, way back in the 1950s, Georgia was a Soviet republic. There was no separate Georgian citizenship. But Georgians who visited Paris at the time as Soviet citizens somehow knew to contact her family, go and see her parents, but because the KGB would be following them, managed to evade them. So she was even France's ambassador to Georgia about 20 years ago, because she's a native speaker of the language, but went back, claimed citizenship, and risen to the highest office in the land. So she is ardently pro-European Union. Now, for Georgia, it's appeared to be Westward Ho for 20 years, since Mikhail Saakashvili assumed power after the Rose Revolution in 2004, and Edvard Shevardnadze, the former Soviet foreign minister apparatchik, was sent packing. Shevardnadze died about 10 years later of natural causes, and Georgia was seeking candidate status for the European Union. Candidate membership status was rejected. They say there's significant problems around corruption. Remember, two of Georgia's regions are illegally militarily occupied by Russia, Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Even more insultingly, Russia recognizes them as sovereign states. One of the only other countries which recognize them as sovereign states is Syria, Assad, Syria. I wonder if that's going to change now that there's a new dispensation in Damascus. So Mikhail Kavelashvili has made very pro-Moscow statements about the Ukrainian war and other issues. He's 53, but people his age and older were obviously adults in the Soviet era. They don't have entirely bad memories of that. There was a lot of horror in the early 90s because of the Civil War, but all right, that's one that Russia deliberately started. So 29th of December, Ms. Zurabashvili's term is expiring, and the new president's due to take over. So the prime minister, Irakli Kobachidze, he's also Georgian Dream, says that Zurabashvili, the president, she shouldn't be bad-mouthing the system, and she's going to have to retire. Is she going to try and stay on despite the expiry of her term, claiming this person's illegitimately elected? So it's becoming a real test for democracy when people don't accept the outcome of elections. But obviously they may have a point. So it's really between Europhiles and Russophiles. That's the fault line in Georgian politics. It appeared to be Europhiles with the majority, but that may be rolling back. Obviously, there's a homophobic aspect to Russophilia. Now, not all Russians are anti-gay, and some Russians indeed are gay. There are gay people in all countries. There always have been throughout history, even when they had to be underground. Um, they dislike transgenderism, which they think that the West is trying to foist on them. The European Union is deeply anxious about the direction things have taken at Georgia in the past couple of years. So, I mean, things would have to turn around again for Georgia to get into the European Union. At this rate, it doesn't look like they get the European Union for 20 years. I mean, are they just too poor as well? Because obviously they would all go west to get better paid jobs. You can't blame them because they would get European citizenship and the right to move to other EU countries if they join the European Union. Admittedly, one is allowed to phase that in. 2004 was the big bang of European Union expansion. 10 countries joined that day: Slovakia, Slovenia, the Czech Republic, Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Malta, Cyprus, and Hungary. And so a few million people moved further west. But the United Kingdom, Republic of Ireland, I think Sweden, we were the only ones to say you can come instantly. The others phased it in over 2 years. Like Romania and Bulgaria, when they joined New Year's Day 2007, again, they didn't automatically have the right to move to Western European countries, but that was brought in after a couple of years. So yeah, what is it, sort of Soviet nostalgia, or is it recognizing that they're going to get cheap oil and gas from Russia? They don't want more hostility with Russia. A bit like when Shevardnadze was in charge. If you're just submissive, then you will be treated not too badly. You don't want to join the European Union. Anyway, so younger, trendier, more educated, liberal people tend to support the opposition, and people who are other than that, people in the countryside, elderly people, perhaps the less educated, the less affluent, they might want to support the Georgian Dream, or indeed People's Power. Kavelashvili is in that, but it's really an adjunct of Georgian Dream. Um, Okay, and he says that that really the pro-EU parties are fifth columns, that actually approves this Foreign Agents Act, and that they're just in the pay of European Union countries and even the United States. That Zurabashvili is the chief agent of these external forces. That she's really a marionette of France. Remember, she's originally French. He wanted to be in charge of the Georgian Football Federation, but he wasn't allowed to on the basis that he wasn't qualified. So yeah, it's quite a tense moment. There's been a lot of use of force by the police, excessive force, I would say. So Georgian Dream, its sugar daddy is Bidzina Ivanishvili, a Georgian who made a fortune in Moscow in the 90s. But he doesn't want to take a direct role in politics himself. But he's very into family values, as he would say. But perhaps he's willing for Russia to be a Georgian satellite again. And people like him have really defended Russia's position in Ukraine. I mean, not gone all the way to say, oh yeah, Luhansk is part of the Russian Federation, but really blamed the West for this and fascists, and said that, you know, that NATO shouldn't expand. And a lot of Georgians like to join NATO as well. But how would that happen when two of its regions are illegally occupied by Russia? So there've been a lot of arrests in the past few weeks. The Georgian police, which improved remarkably after 2004, they've been repeatedly accused of using torture since. So the United States has blocked various Georgian bureaucrats and politicians from coming to the United States on the basis that they are corrupt and they're undermining democracy. And the European Union has denounced what it considers grossly excessive use of force by the Georgian police. So it doesn't seem to be moving in a particularly good direction. It's a gain for Russia if they have their stooge elected. Even if he doesn't take office somehow, it's still been divisive amongst Georgians. Is almost anarchic, is really reduced public confidence in democracy. And that plays into Russia's hands, as that dictatorship is the norm and better. It's the old thing of choosing between the fridge and the television. Well, you're going to choose the fridge. You know, want to be able to have free expression of opinion and real news on television. Well, honestly, eating is more important. And Russia believes that they could switch off the heating to Georgia in winter. They banned flights to Georgia, which hit the tourist industry and so on. They could block imports of Georgian wine and so on. Again, hurt Georgia's brittle economy. Right. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. I really need the donations to keep going. And remember, it's Christmas time, so dig deep. Goodbye.